Welcome to the 54th edition of Trivial Debates, the ultimate pop culture challenge. Hello, everybody. I am your host today, Mike O'Connor, and we have some very awesome new debates this month. Each week, of course, our panelists will be judged and scored on their arguments for facts, passion, and creativity. And here we go with this week's panelist. Starting out of the hop, we have... All right.
Whoever you want.
Our first panelist today is Jeff.
What up?
Boom, Jeff Mader. Welcome.
Drop the mic. I'm here. I'm back.
All right. And our next contestant in the hop, we have Jody. Welcome, Jody.
Here, I'm Jeff.
I'm coming for you, Jody.
The mic. There you go.
The virtual attacks are already beginning. And our third contestant today, welcome to the show, Adam.
Hey, guys. No big entrance for me.
Oh, come on. We all did guns. We need to do guns. Come on.
Wave the guns.
Oh, he's showing a different type of guns. All right.
Oh, Adam's bringing the big guns today. Everybody better watch out. All right, we want people to be passionate, not personally mean to one another. Of course, let's keep it clean, gentlemen, or as much as possible.
Okay.
Keep in mind, you can also skip to a new debate by looking at the time indexes in the description for our viewers at home and going into the battles that interest you the most. Okay, are we ready?
Ready?
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right. We've got 6 categories coming at you today. Category number 1, open for all 3 contestants, is movies. Let's cut right to that first question. And our first question of the day under the category of movies: what is the worst movie adaptation of a comic book? Who are we going to first today? Let's go to Jody. I see you first up on my screen.
Okay. All right. So I picked a little known movie, very big budgeted, but terrible performance, which is a movie from 2004. Obviously the best movie ever made, which is Catwoman. This is a terrible movie. Just to give you a bit of a background history of this is a movie that actually originally was written right after Batman Returns, which is from 90. Geez, I can't remember the exact date, but anyway, basically it was written for Michelle Pfeiffer. This is a movie that went through so many production hassles before it even got shot. That they ended up losing Michelle Pfeiffer. She actually quit the project. She just flat out quit it. And the worst thing about this movie overall is Halle Berry, as well as everything else in it. It is just drivel. And it was made for $100 million, and they only ended up getting $82 million back at the end of the day. So it's just a terrible comic book movie.
One of those box office flops. Okay.
Very much so.
Great answer, Mr. Simpson. And now we're going to throw it over to Jeff. Jeff, what did you have? What was the worst comic book adaptation into a movie?
I picked the 2015 version of the Fantastic Four. You talk about a movie that was literally created just to keep the rights away from Marvel. It's such a bad movie that it's just terrible. Like, literally, Invisible Woman's hair changes in the middle of a scene in the movie. Dr. Doom's in it for like 2 minutes. The entire movie is just awful. They made my budget was actually higher than yours. Yes, it's quite a few. It's about 10 years later, Jody. It somehow made money. I have no idea, but it's so bad. Everybody crapped on this movie. Nobody liked it. It literally failed in its attempt to keep the rights. It ended up getting sold anyway a couple years later to Disney. I will never rewatch this movie. I watched it once and it was awful. It was unwatchable. It's like, you talk about a movie that has studio interference, and literally they told them not to read the comic books on set. They didn't want to have any type of influence on the movie because it was so all over the place. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
All right, another great answer. Thank you, Jeff. We're going to throw it over to Adam. What is the worst comic book adaptation into a movie?
Superman 4. The fourth in the sequel.
Lose Adam?
The sequel. Can you hear me?
Oh no.
Okay. I picked Superman 4. Can you guys hear me or not?
I can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, great.
I can't hear.
That sounds like a Jody problem.
All right. Back to this Superman 4 starring Christopher Reeves. He was able to get his old good friend Gene Hackman to come back reprise his role, but it's still a terrible movie. The picture was made for $17 million. It made $15.2 million at the time. Guys, this was done before CGI, and they really needed a budget for visual effects and couldn't do that because the budget kept getting cut back as Canon was a company. I'm sure none of you heard of it because guess what? They went out of business after Superman 4. How bad was it that you could actually see the harnesses that kept up Christopher Reeves during his flight scenes? They actually cut 45 minutes from the film so the megaplexes could play the movie, more times in a day to get more money out of the movie. But that actually backfired on them in the end because just nobody came to the movie. So you could play it, 8 or 9 times a day, but you still weren't getting enough people in the seats. So, box office flop. Story was terrible. It was very political. And focusing on the nuclear race at the time in the early 80s, and again, story writing was awful, and just a box office flop.
All right, thank you, Adam. All right, so three tough ones to start off with. Great answers, guys. Jeff, I think Fantastic Four was brutal, like you said. At the end of the day, they made a couple of sequels off it, so I'm leaning more towards.
No, not that one. No, that's
Oh.
there's 2 Fantastic Four movies before that. This is the last one that
He's talking the 2015 one with Kate Mira and all that.
Okay, so I was confused.
So-
there.
Miles Teller.
I wouldn't mind starting if that's all right with everybody.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Okay, number one, I'm the only movie out of the 3 movies that were picked that actually lost money. Every single one of these other movies made money. Okay, even though not much when it comes to Superman 4, but they definitely made money. Now, that's not the only thing that's obviously going to judge this thing, but my movie is supposed to be a representation of a character from another movie, doesn't even mention Batman at all in the damn movie, even though it is a Batman character, and literally done by the exact same studio, Warner Brothers, which you would think would be able to keep their IPs, pretty straight, but unfortunately couldn't. The other thing that also happened is that my movie actually got 7 different nominations for Raspberry Awards, which is the Raspberry Awards, which is the worst films ever, essentially, and even won Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Worst Director, and Worst Screenplay for that year out of all the contenders, which I don't know if you guys remember 2004. There was a lot of terrible movies back then. But overall, I just think, with all my points aside, I think I clearly am the winner here.
Okay. I have a couple things to say. First of all, my movie is so bad that they were going to make a sequel and they said no. There was too many negative reviews and the box office, the box office was not good enough. It was like $20 million they made off a $120 million budget. So
167 million actually.
Well, okay, so no, they made 40 million, maybe. No, not even.
Not even close. Yeah,
not even close. And okay, so here's the deal with this movie. Tommy Wiseau, the guy who made the worst movie ever that people like, The Room, said he would be interested in directing the sequel, and they actually seriously considered it. So these are the type of things with the Fantastic Four. Wow. Also, look at the title of my movie, Fan Fourth Stick 4.
Yeah, that's a marketing nightmare right there for sure.
That's all. All right, I'll just stop with that.
Yeah,
mine also I've got one for Superman. You guys got to hear this one too. So Canon Studios at the time, they actually had in the works and planning stages was the first Spider-Man movie. Pardon me. And because of this movie was so bad, and Jody, it only made 15.7 domestically, and
yep.
It did cost 17 million, so it did lose money. But long and short, they couldn't make the first Spider-Man movie, which was probably a good thing. But it definitely delayed the production of Spider-Man, probably until CGI came along. And I will say this again: is that back in those days when you absolutely needed good visual effects, especially for a superhero movie. To cut a budget so drastically that you saw cables, made it look like a B movie. It was tragic, honestly. Coming out of how Superman looked in Superman 2 and then Superman 3, they're all pretty good movies.
Did you say that they lost money?
They lost. They lost worldwide. They did not lose money. Domestically, They lost money.
Oh, okay, domestically. Sorry, I misheard that.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, again, just it could have been tragic for the whole superhero movies if it hadn't performed. It didn't perform, but thankfully somebody got smart and saw the potential in what they could do from the first 3 movies. But this was and I think honestly for Christopher Reeve, a very bad ending to a great career as playing Superman. From there, we all know that he tragically broke his neck and then died subsequently of pneumonia. So not a great way to have his swan song going out with a movie that he wrote and really pushed for to be such a bad ending to a great movie career.
I definitely don't have the same feeling about Christopher Reeve as you do as an actor, but I do agree with both these other movies. I think they're both definitely great picks. But when it comes to just overall losing money, terrible everything, like I can watch the Fantastic Four movie. It's not good, but I can still watch it. Catwoman is unwatchable. If you watch that movie, you will probably throw up at the end of it.
I can't watch my movie. I can't watch my movie. Jody.
I watched your movie.
I've actually never watched Catwoman, so I don't know.
Oh, it is. I don't recommend it.
Right.
Yeah.
Superman 4.
Superman 4 is terrible.
It's bad, but it's the end of a road of fond memories. Fantastic Four is a reboot movie of movies they've already made 2 of that were fun and people kind of enjoyed. Even my dad liked the original Fantastic Four movies. Then they tried to basically DCify the Fantastic Four with this new movie, and it didn't work, and nobody liked it, and somehow still made money because people are going to go see a superhero movie no matter what, usually, especially if it's a big name like Fantastic Four. Catwoman's not a big name.
There's other movies that have done the exact same thing to hold on to the rights, such as Sony with Spider-Man. So that's not really necessarily
Spider-Man 3 is a great example, which is another bad movie.
Bad movie, but I'd watch that 10 times over anything else that we've already mentioned here.
Yes, and the question is asking about adaptation, and I kind of, for me, I think it's between me and Jody, because at least Superman 4 is still pretty true to the character of Superman that they've done for the first 3 movies, and it's pretty true to the comics. My movie kind of just takes a big dump on the Fantastic Four because they didn't have the time to really do it. And then Catwoman is another one. I agree with you, Jody. They were not faithful to the character. They didn't even mention Batman.
No, nothing going on there. So it's my movie has won so many terrible awards. I think that alone seals the deal. But
well, mine won also.
Mine won Razzies too, Jody. It won Worst Director, Worst Prequel, Remake, Rip-Off or Sequel, Worst Picture.
Like I would suggest you take the reins at this point because these two will keep going back and forth.
I think we have to call it. So I think Fantastic Four, now that I've been reset and know exactly which movie we're talking about, decent bones to this movie. And like Jody said, I can watch it. It's not great, but I can watch it.
It's a plain movie.
Yeah.
That's what I look at.
Exactly. It's Sunday afternoon. There's nothing on.
If I have to watch Catwoman on a plane, I'd probably open the emergency exit.
You'd probably hear some shrieking cats going on. Superman 4, love, regardless of how bad that one was. I think to Jeff's point, it's kind of the capstone on an era. So, horrible to watch, but still, it's got some good nostalgia there. I'm going to go with Catwoman on this one. Hey. Jody's the winner for round 1. Congratulations, Jody. And I think when it comes to Catwoman, I mean, for me, almost the definition of the Razzie Awards is Catwoman there. So good choice, Jody. All right, we are going to move on to question number 2 quickly and keep this show rolling. Category number 2, television. And your question is, gentlemen, what is the best Ken Burns documentary? All right, Jeff, we're going to throw it to you first.
I went with the one everyone knows him for. the Civil War. For me, this is how I started learning about the Civil War, was this documentary. And I'm a history major now, so I give a lot of props to this documentary because the way he frames it, the community parodied this exact narrative where you have like the actual quote of a real soldier talking over, basically a silhouette of a battlefield or a house or a picture of a soldier or whatever. And this is what he's known for. You ask people, who's Ken Burns? Oh, the Civil War guy? That's what they're going to mention. Yeah, so like just amazing history. He fits so much into an hour and 15 minutes. It's incredible how much research and history he did, and he actually shows both sides, which is very rare for a Civil War documentary. So for me, Ken Burns' Civil War is the best. I also enjoy his Vietnam one, but it's not quite to the same level, in my opinion.
You're muted, Mike.
Sorry about that, guys. Fantastic answer, Jeff. And we are now going to throw it over to Adam.
I picked his documentary on Hemingway, and I think that this was an important one to be made, and because everybody has this archetype or image of what Hemingway was in their minds, and through
did I get
reading
disconnected, or did everybody else?
We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Right. So as I was saying, he was an archetype through our reading lists and
I am
literature.
not hearing anybody on my end.
He's got to reboot. He's got to refresh. Then that's what I had to do.
Sorry.
Who, Mike or me?
Mike.
Mike,
You're
not
fine.
you. You're fine.
Dave, why don't we just go to the 4 screen instead of the big screen?
Not
we
bad.
can
I can see Mike. He's fine.
No, he's not. It's the same thing that happened with me. He has to refresh. I couldn't hear anybody all of a sudden.
Okay. Well,
just tell him to refresh and chat.
Yeah, he's refreshing now. Go ahead. Go ahead, Adam.
All right, I'll start again. So I went with Hemingway's, Ken Burns' documentary on Hemingway, basically taking a look at, the author Hemingway. However, for somebody who was created on, for me, my first introduction to Hemingway was just sort of my parents talking about it, but real reading was in grade 9, Farewell to Arms. And, you heard more about the man, but as you learn more about this guy through his 6-hour documentary, it was chronological. It was very interesting. And I did spend the time at it. I learned things that I've never learned before. And I think that for such an iconic person in North American literature, to learn about this person was just so interesting. I mean, it took him from his childhood through his time as a war hero in World War I, to his time in Paris, through time in Florida and Key West over to Cuba. So, I mean, and his impact on other writers through the 3 years has just been really chronologicalized. And, to get people in this documentary, like Meryl Streep came into it, Patricia Clarkson, Jeff Daniels were also narrating. It was really interesting. I thought he did very well, and I learned a hell of a lot.
All right. Great answer, Adam. Thank you very much. And finally, we are going to throw it over to Jody. Best Ken Burns documentary.
Okay. So I actually picked the Vietnam War. And the reason why I picked this is it's a great telling of both sides. I find a lot of the Vietnam war-based documentaries on TV are usually one-sided. They're very, tell the American side and that's it. The nice thing about the Ken Burns Vietnam War is he does actually discuss both sides of the conflict, as well as how it affected both sides a little bit better. It's a 10-episode piece, so obviously you have different topics per the 10, so I'm not going to get into that. But basically, he captures the exact feeling of the war, and the feeling that people had, the struggle as well as the conflict that they had, with the fact that there was a lot of people that didn't believe that they should be there, all that stuff. So overall, I just think it's a really well done telling. I want to take my last 10 seconds to tell the judge that I believe that the Civil War should actually be taken out of this thing, because that is not a TV show. That is actually a movie. So this is a TV category. So I don't know why that was allowed, but I'm protesting the judge and mic dropping on Jeff there.
You're trying to disqualify me.
I'm trying to disqualify you for the fact that you picked a movie for a TV category.
What do you, they're documentaries. They're you know.
Sorry, it's a TV
I'm pretty
category.
sure they're. What do you mean it's a movie? Was it in a theater?
Hold
Yes,
on, I
it is
gotta
a film.
fix this. I gotta fix this. 1 second.
It did air on PBS, so I think we'll allow it for this one.
I don't think that. Yeah, that's a. It's not like it was like it had
It
a
wasn't
poster
made
and,
for TV. It's not a TV
It wasn't.
movie.
It wasn't it wasn't in a theater.
Yes, it
Jody.
was.
It's
It
not-
was a
doesn't count.
film.
Jody, I challenge you to go watch Civil War in the theater.
I can't now.
Well, fair enough.
But anyway,
I don't know.
I don't agree with that pick. It's not a TV documentary.
I think it's.
All right.
Okay.
I think
No,
because he
I
knows
think
it's a
you have to
superior
look at the-
documentary to his, and it really is. The Vietnam one's
Ratings
good. I
wise,
like
it is definitely superior. But I didn't pick it because it's a movie.
Well, I mean, it's a technicality. If you want to argue the merits of the documentaries,
Okay.
I think we could certainly do that. And for me, he put way more effort and research into his Civil War. It's what he's known for. Everybody knows Ken Burns for the Civil War documentary.
For the film,
The new
Civil
Hemingway
War,
one
yes,
is
the
also
film.
fantastic. I've watched it as well. It's about
It
one
is.
man though, so it's a little bit more focused, I guess you could say.
It
The
was
Civil
definitely
War and the
focused
Vietnam.
for Jeff, for me, like, having visited his home in Key West and just, again, the mystery of that guy has been, it just brought so much more questions that I had about the guy. And, he wasn't nice. And,
No.
Hemingway was, for one person who, enjoys
Quite
his
an
rugged
ass.
freak, he was.
Yeah.
He lived life on his terms and just didn't really give a shit about anybody else's feelings or thoughts or whatever. He just, it was all about him. And that's very clear, even through his drinking and his abuse of his wife, pardon me. His grandchildren barely knew him. It's just, it was all about Hemingway. And for me, and if you've ever get the chance and to go to Key West, please stop at his place, because it's worth seeing. Just amazing, person.
6-toed cats.
Yeah.
Yes, the polydactyl cats, they're there. I've seen them. So, but anyway, I quite enjoyed it. I learned a lot. Like I said, Civil War, Vietnam, you get all over the place. It's overdone. This was a one-man show, yes, Jeff, but it was also not many people have taken the time to investigate one person like that.
Well,
No,
I think the key of a good documentary is to make sure you cover the subject matter correctly. All three of these did definitely cover them, and covered them very well. Ken Burns is, in my opinion, one of the best documentary makers in the world, bar none. The Vietnam War, I felt was probably the best representation. I've studied a lot of the Vietnam War. And his take on how he made that and the shots and all that, everything about it is just high quality. It was a great TV event. It was a great TV experience. And overall, I just think when a good documentary has to show the bad as well as the good. And I think definitely with all three of these, that's absolutely true. But again, as I said, when it comes to ratings wise, all three of these are very high up. Mine would be the second best rated out of the three of them, if we don't count the fact that Jeff has picked a film. But overall, I think all three of them are great picks. So I don't envy our judge. Let's put it that way.
I don't really understand your argument there, Jody, because mine first broadcasted on PBS for 5 consecutive nights. That's on TV. That's not I don't understand what you're talking about. Yes, it's a mini series, I guess. Is that what you mean?
It's a film.
Why? Because it was done by a film production
It's
company?
even called a film. The production environment, everything that they did to produce it said it was a film, and it did actually display in theaters.
Okay, but also aired on TV first.
Yeah,
I can't verify that,
Jody.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, anything that airs on PBS is a show.
Yeah, I disagree with that, but anyway.
So I don't agree with that. I also think with the Civil War,
That's right. That's like telling me every time I see Die Hard on TV, that's a TV show.
It didn't
That's
air.
not the same thing.
It wasn't premiered on.
it's where it premieres, Jody. That's what matters.
Yeah, it premiered in theaters as well
No, it
on
didn't.
PBS. Yes, it did.
It first broadcasted on PBS. So
All right.
that
Anyway,
makes it-
you know what? The judge gets to make the decision. I'm not.
Anyway, first of all, I was going to say about the Civil War that he got incredible voice actors to be in this. Like Sam Waterston did Abraham Lincoln. We had Morgan Freeman doing Frederick Douglass. Jason Robards did Ulysses S. Grant. He all these different great people he got to do the voiceovers for this documentary was fantastic. Yeah, and when you're asking a question like what is the best Ken Burns documentary, and then you go, well, it's a TV question, like it is
a TV question.
Ken
That's
Burns
the category.
documentary.
What's interesting about his choices for voice though is pretty cool. When you like, I not that I'm taking away from my own argument here, because I'm not. It's just I think the way he picks his actors, like look at that list, they're very
fitting.
Very fitting for those and mine, like Meryl Streep, Patricia Clarkson, Jeff Daniels. I think those are very fitting for that one as well, for Hemingway.
Yeah,
you know, he's a great what do you call it, documentarist, I guess.
Absolutely.
Mike, you got to make a hard decision here.
And he gets the big actors. Okay, well, yeah, these were all good arguments. I think you guys all went to the wall. This is just going to come down to my favorite. I've seen all three, and we're going to go with Civil War. Yeah, it was epic. I think all three of them were really epic, but yeah, Civil War's the winner. All right, moving on to music now. Category number 3. Who is the most influential musician no one has heard of? We are going to start with Adam for this one.
Okay.
Good morning. I picked John Prine for my choice. And he is a sort of an anonymous voice as far as his name out in music, but however, boy, was he influential, and he really first discovered by Bob Dylan and believe it or not, Chris Christopherson, who I don't understand why is a major voice in music, but for such a young guy to be such brooding in his music and speaking so real about real life experiences, and guys, he's a folk writer if you don't know him, but just incredible lyrics and incredible depth, incredible influence on other huge stars like Dylan. I'm not saying Christopherson was, Jody, because I know you'll go there. So,
technically a musician. Sadly,
he died of coronavirus this year, actually. With complications of coronavirus, which is unfortunate. I didn't know that, and just until my research onto this one for preparing for this. Anyway, long and short, he was excellent. Definitely influenced many other stars. And his lyrics are really, really fantastic if you get the chance to study or read or listen to them. Worthwhile doing.
Did we lose Jeff?
Awesome. Thank you, Adam.
He's there.
I think we got everybody still.
I think we're all good.
All right. That means it's your turn, Jody. Who is the most influential musician no one has heard of? Let's throw a minute on the board.
Well, I definitely took the no one has heard of part pretty seriously. Y'all can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. For some strange reason, it blanked out. I picked Hal Blaine. Hal Blaine is an American drummer and session recording artist. This man worked, he estimated to have sat in on 35,000 sessions and 6,000 different singles being made. He was actually a drummer. He did a lot of background drumming. He did fill-in drumming as well. He also just did direct drumming for various bands. Some bands which include the Wrecking Crew, Beach Boys, the Byrds, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Johnny Rivers, Simon and Garfunkel, Neil Diamond, John Denver, Barbra Streisand, Captain and Tennille, the Carpenters, the list goes on and on. This man is just an absolute genius when it comes to playing the drums as well as various other instruments. He worked on a lot of popular singles, including singles for Elvis Presley, the Beach Boys, Simon and Garfunkel. Overall, just the man itself. Past that, it's just overall he's just a very, very gifted individual who obviously clearly is a treasure for the music environment.
And that's your minute. Thank you, Jody. All right, Jeff, let's hear your answer. Who is the most influential musician no one has heard of?
I picked Vic Flick. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know who Vic Flick was, but basically he was also a session musician, much like Jody's pick, but more of the British invasion type, not the American type. So he, if you've ever heard the James Bond theme, that's him playing that. He also played on Hard Day's Night with the Beatles and Help. He he played with Herman's Hermits. He helped Jimmy Page when he was a session musician before he ever became Jimmy Page. So you talk about influence. This man had it. He also worked with Nancy Sinatra. He worked with Tom Jones, Dusty Springfield, Paul McCartney, Petula Clark, Donovan, a ton of people. Eric Clapton. He helped. He's kind of was known as in a lot of ways as like a godfather of guitar, session guitar playing, because he kind of came before a lot of the people today, like Page, like Clapton, like all those guys. So for me, incredible that this guy, no one really knows who he is, but you've heard him play more songs than you know.
Okay. Well, that's kind of the
so if I can get right into this, both Jeff and Jody described great supporting support. I mean, they talked about help, they support, they were on sessions, but they didn't do much other than that. It seems like they were definitely there. They definitely had skill. They definitely had the ability to be there and on all albums, I'm sure. However, to be an influencer, I think the question was not support. And, I'll quote Dylan here. No way somebody this young can be writing so heavy. John Prine is so good, we might have to break his thumbs. So, it was definitely an influence on these guys and how they, manage their careers from that.
Jody, what was the name of your guy again? Sorry.
Hal Blaine.
Hal.
Yeah.
Just fixing it. There you go.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Just for me, for the Wrecking Crew, just quick with Jody's, I would have picked Carol Kay over Hal Prine, but Hal Blaine, sorry, just because I'm more of a bass enthusiast, and that's who I would have picked. And she was like the first female session musician that you can really think of, but that's neither here nor there.
I also picked based on how many, the fact that he has sat in on 35,000 sessions and played. Like, that is incredible for any musician.
Yeah, but we're not talking about records, and we're not talking about sessions. We're talking about influencing.
You don't think that being in 35,000 recording sessions is not influenced? Of course, that influenced everything he touched. I guess it depends on how you define influence, Adam. But a songwriter, yes, definitely influential for anybody who hears those songs. This guy played the background in a lot of stuff. Like, this is very influential. I'm sorry, I disagree with you on that.
How much of it did he write, Jody?
Doesn't have to write any of it.
Well, no, I'm just asking.
Honestly, I don't have that information, but I know that he did do some writing, but I can't tell you exactly. He was also the one who named the Wrecking Crew. So he was the one that came up with that name, which I forgot to mention originally. But also did various things like "Be My Baby" in 1963. He wrote part of that as well.
Okay, so with Vic Flick, he was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2013 by the National Guitar Museum for contribution to the history of guitar. He's only the fourth recipient to get that award. So like, these are the type of things you talk about influence. He was very influential on those session musicians that I mentioned, like Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, these type of people.
Yeah.
So
I would totally agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have much more to say other than the facts that I've already given and all that. I don't totally understand why mine wouldn't be classed as an influential musician when you're playing music on various top 10. He had, what was it? I think it was a total of 150 US top 10 hits he played on.
I have a question. Yeah. What's for Adam? What's the most influential song, like, or just song that I know that John Prine wrote, but I didn't know who John Prine was?
You wouldn't. I mean, you probably. I don't have an answer for you, Jeff. I just think when you have people like Dylan, people like Bonnie Raitt, people like I don't know. I'm not going to say Christofferson again because I think it's a bad example, but
no, it's still an icon.
Well, you're right, but however, people,
and we have
somebody that influences lyrics and makes these greats, think about how they write and how they include, tone into their own songs, is just, again, an influencer. When you have real stars, real music icons crediting somebody with that influence is an influencer.
All right.
Well, I think all three
wire.
of these picks are influencers, plain and simple. I don't think there's any debating that. But obviously, I don't agree with all the comments.
That's time.
I was just reading about John Prine that Roger Waters said he was a huge influence on him as well. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for this answer, because you guys gave me a couple of different music avenues to go down that I hadn't seen in a while. In one case, I hadn't heard of, so that's fantastic. The winner on this one is actually going to be Adam for John Prine. I am in agreement.
Yeah, listen to this quote. Roger Waters said that John Prine lives in a plane with the most influential people, with only two other people, Neil Young and John Lennon. That's what Roger Waters said. So
I didn't even see that one. Yeah.
That's an epic
If
review.
you just said that, I would have gave it to you right away.
Damn it.
I
am quoting Bonnie Raitt, and I could have got it wrong.
Chris Christopherson said he was good.
Yeah.
All right. A quick look at the score, and we have a 3-way tie after 3 questions. Heading into question number 4, the category is sports. The question is, what is the most controversial call by an official in a championship game or series? And who are we going to throw to first on this one? Let's throw to Jeff first on this one.
Oh, okay. I picked the 2002 figure skating scandal with David Pelche and I forget her name, something Selle. Anyway, it was when the Canadians got screwed over by the Russian judge when they clearly should have won the gold medal and they didn't, and they literally had to protest the IOC, and then they gave them both gold medals, which was bullshit. And there's a whole bunch of different things that went on with this. Even Jay Leno was making jokes about this. I mean, it was so blatantly obvious to everybody that the Russians were trying to rig it and cheat to get, and literally right now the Olympics are going on and they're not allowed to represent Russia. They have their people from Russia. This is the start of all that. Well, not the start, but I mean, it's part of the story, and of how they were willing to cheat and do whatever they could. And figure skating is such an arbitrary sport. And when you talk about controversial call or judge, this is like top of mind to me.
All right, love it. That was a very controversial circumstance in Olympics. I remember that was all over Canadian news. All right, Jody, what is the most controversial call by an official in a championship game
let me
or
paint
series?
you a picture, Judge. All right. It's 1999. Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Okay.
Oh.
Red Hall goes in on Hasek in an overtime, which is the 3rd overtime, by the way. This is a very exciting game for both fans to be watching, both fan groups. And it looked like there was a skate in the crease, which led to a goal, which obviously would later on be the Stars winning the Stanley Cup in 1999. Buffalo being very, very unhappy about this. And if you look at the replay, I can see why. So this is such a thing that has changed the course of hockey history, that they actually changed the skate in the crease rule because of this one play. This one play that was called by one referee that just decided to end it all, and they ended up winning Game 6, which obviously won the series. Would have went to Game 7, obviously, and they could have been a completely different outcome, or it could have been the same. Who knows? But either way, this also influenced hockey going forward with that rule change, just because of Brett Hall, his skate, and Hasek. So overall, I think it's one of the most controversial calls made in hockey as well as in history when it comes to sports.
Potentially referencing one of the worst rules in hockey history as well. Thank you, Jody.
Also,
appreciate
yes,
that.
I agree with that too.
Bringing back some horrible memories there. All right, Adam, what is the most controversial call by an official in a championship game or series?
Okay, Jeff, nod to you. I remember watching that whole thing, and the drama that came out of that was just crazy. And Jody, great one too. Mine's also a hockey game, Game 6, 1993, Leafs versus Kings. And I remember being at a bar in Toronto watching this game and just being so disheartened when this happened. But Gretzky basically high stick Doug Gilmour. Doug went down, had a cut in his chin, blood was drawn, clear injury, and Kerry Fraser ignored it. While Gretzky, and this is the difference between the two, yes, huge impact in the sports game from you, Jody, but this player, Gretzky, would have got a major 5 minutes off, but he came around, and because he was still on the ice, he scored the goal that sent us to Game 7. And just that whole lack of momentum, lack of morale, loss of morale, we just never came back and lost the series. And Kings went on to play Montreal in the finals. So, I mean, being the closest I think we'd ever been to a Stanley Cup in my time, which is 50 years and still haven't won. That's my one go-to where I cannot stand Kerry Fraser. And interestingly enough, Kerry Fraser came out in 2016 and apologized for that call and said he was absolutely wrong.
All right. 3 hot topics for debate. Let's open it up.
Okay, real quick. I think all right, with Jody's, I think it was a rule, and the controversial wasn't necessarily to me the call, it was the rule. Even Mike, you just said, like, you brought back memories of just the rule. The call was, yes, it was triple overtime, and it was basically the guy wanted to end the game because it was getting ridiculous. But anyway, because it was like 2 or 3 in the morning or something, was it? It was really, really late. With mine, it was very, very clear that the judge cheated, and it was like, if you go watch both programs of the Russians and the Canadians, the Russians like slip on both of their jumps, and the Canadians hit it flawlessly, and so like that was a big scandal. The high stick thing was to me, like, I kind of agree with Adam, like that we only know the one judge or ref here, Kerry Fraser. So I mean, his is the most infamous for me, as far as controversial call by an official. Like, we only know Kerry Fraser's name here, so I don't know what the Russian guy's name was.
Yeah, the difficulty with yours, Jeff, is that you have a panel of judges that are at that time. I mean, it did change how figure skating was judged, I think, after that, because it was just, I could throw up any number and that's that. So, and, we came up with the whole, we're paying judges off. We have a national pride. Why is even a hometown judge even allowed to judge on that? I never understood that one either. But, for being one person influencing it, yeah, I go back to the, I mean, that's not the question, but certainly Kerry Fraser, became much hated in Toronto after that event.
Okay.
And we got,
I haven't said anything yet. So both
yeah,
of
don't bother.
both of these picks by my fellow contestants here are both great picks. I'm not a big figure skating fan, so I didn't really care about that one at all. But I know that a lot of people did. As for the Gretzky thing, absolutely, he was against the rules. He did do it. Absolutely, it was a missed call. Mine actually was a protest, not by the fact that there was a rule, but the fact of whether the skate was within the rule or not. And that to me still kind of debates exactly what you said, Jeff, in regards to my statement saying it wasn't really a controversial call. It was a controversial call. They didn't call it, and they should have, because
only the city of Buffalo cared. Let's face it. Like,
you know what, a lot of people cared, and whether or not it was big, massive news. As for the Leafs thing, yes, it was a terrible call as well. I agree, or lack of call, I guess is a better way to say it. Both of them are really lack of calls. But overall, I just think mine changed the actual rule, even though it is a shitty rule in my opinion as well. I think even our judge agrees with that, but that shouldn't change anything. But overall, I just think the whole figure skating thing, I don't know how many people were really affected by that, but yes, it did change things, as well as obviously the whole Gretzky controversy. I think it made him out to look a lot better than he should have. I think Gretzky should have been chastised a little bit more for that, but overall, I just think mine being the one that really did change the rule book, clearly changed the rule book. So.
Well, mine changed the rule book too, because there was at the time, I think there was 8 or 9 judges in figure skating. Now there's only 6, and they rotate which country you're from. It's not always the Russian or always the American that are on the panel. So they definitely change things. Well, my mom cares way more about figure skating than she does about Game 6, 1999.
Oh, okay.
All right. Any last shots in? Parting shots. You got 5 seconds.
No,
One more.
I don't envy you. That's all I have to say.
All right. Okay. So let me go through these one by one because it's going to take a little bit. All right. The Carey Fraser non-Colin Gretzky's high stick was a shame. I wasn't old enough to remember watching it, though I do remember the 93 World Series quite vividly. So I think if this game had gone the other way, it probably would have been a different call if the Leafs had won and Gretzky had been penalized. Pretty. This one still sits pretty heavily with Leaf fans. Stars winning the Stanley Cup
50 years.
Well, that's the other thing.
You know what? It was that team was just there was so much heart in it.
It was a good team though. Yeah.
And
Wendell Clark, Dougie Gilmore, yeah.
And I think that it just took the steam out of the whole. I mean, going to Game 7 was. I remember just like, oh man, like you just lost that enthusiasm. Like, didn't feel good coming out of that game. Let me tell you,
it should have been Leafs Habs, and it was robbed from us.
Yeah, and that will sit with us forever. All right, Stars Stanley Cup win. Boy, this was a Stanley Cup that I remember vividly. Absolutely hated the entire series because I did not like the Stars. I did not like the Sabres. I didn't like Brett Hull. I didn't like Dominic Hasek.
Yeah.
The skate was in the crease. It was so obvious it wasn't even funny. And you're right, Jody. I think everybody was just tired. Salt Lake City. This one stood out for me. I was not obviously a figure skating fan. The Olympics were huge at the time, and this one blew up across Canada for people who had no interest in the sport, who had no idea what ice dancing was or that it was even competitive.
Would it have go with if it wasn't Russians?
That's right. That added another layer of intrigue.
You think so?
Right?
Even if it was somebody else other than the Russians?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the Cold War.
I think if like Argentina or something did it, no one would give a shit.
The Argentinas wouldn't have done it though. The Russians literally can't represent themselves at the Olympics because they're such cheaters.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think.
I completely agree with you, Jeff. Absolutely.
They've had doping issues since.
I've just always wondered that. That's all. That wasn't really a point to.
No. I know. Yeah.
I was just always wondering that.
It was the Great Red Scare at the Olympics, right? So that's going to be the winner for me. We're going to take Jeff's answer, the 2002 Salt Lake City scandal. All right, moving on to history now, keeping this show rolling. Which historical cult has the most bizarre beliefs or rituals?
This is the weirdest question I've ever had to answer on this show.
All right, that's what I was going for.
So you know, I think this one wins.
All right, and Jeff, you're going first, or Jody, you're going first.
Yeah, am I first now? Okay, so I picked the Hindi sect cult, which is better known as the Agori. These guys are obsessed with purity. They rub the ashes of the dead on them, so they'll riddle. I can never say that word. They'll basically rub the ashes of the dead after they've burned them after a ritual. They drink their own urine. They also eat rotting flesh of people who have already died. These guys are just something. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to take away from the religious of it. You guys can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I've lost you guys again. But anyway, basically, they eat rotting flesh out of the skulls of the dead. Like, these guys are just all over the place when it comes to this stuff. And again, I'm not trying to shit on any religion, whether it be Hindu or whatnot. This is a subsection of the Hindu faith, but this is a very extreme version of it as well, and to the point that it's people getting into it sometimes try to get out of it just because they finally realize what's going on. But overall, just a cannibalistic sect and also a cult. So I can't even fathom how terrible that is. But anyway, that's just me.
Sounds like a fun Sunday morning.
Ugh.
All right.
Not for me, but maybe for somebody else.
All right, let's throw it over to Adam. Which historical cult has the most bizarre rituals or beliefs?
Okay, and forgive the pronunciations here, but I'm doing some more reading on this. But I think it's called Aleph, or it was formerly Shrinkio. Anyway, long and short, this was the cult that was responsible for the sarin gas deployments in the Tokyo subway systems in 1984, which was tragic and awful. I mean, gosh, can you imagine sitting in a subway and all of a sudden you can't breathe and trying to get your last breath out as you're dying on a subway floor? I mean, I can't even imagine how horrible that was. And I hear you researching that as well, but you know,
I'm just trying to remember what it was. That's all.
Yeah, it was it's a religious cult who came up with it. They needed to, basically, what's the word? Cleanse, certain other factions out of the city. Just not a great, like I think any cult where you're actually, causing death and going after innocents is awful. And certainly the scale of what they did here was awful and just horrible.
What's it called? Unshrinkio?
I think so. Just go with AUM
and then Shinriko.
Shininko?
Shinrinko, yeah.
AL? Okay.
Yeah, 1995.
Oh, sorry.
95 is when it happened.
Okay. And then Jeff.
Okay. Yeah, I went with the Bohemian Grove Club. It's in. This is a club that's in basically Northern California. It's been the gathering place for some of the most powerful and rich elites in history, going back about 100 years. You're talking. This is also famous for the spot where the Manhattan Project was basically started in 1942. Basically, people go there and run around naked and do a lot of gay stuff and plan the world. Basically, this is what's. I'm not making this up. They have a huge owl, wooden owl carving it's called Moloch, which is supposed to be a ram. That they do like a fake burning of an effigy. Their motto is "Weaving spiders come not here." You talk about what's bizarre. This is bizarre. That the fact that our most influential world leaders, Richard Nixon, Bill Clinton, they've been here. They're members. They've hung out here. So you talk about historical cult as the most bizarre rituals or beliefs. It's this one.
Okay, sorry, I missed what you actually picked, Jeff. What was it?
Bohemian Grove Club.
Oh, okay, Bohemian Grove. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All of our rich overlords, our powerful rich overlords, getting together to have a fantastic get together. And
oh, sorry, I messed that up. 1 second. And then boom, 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 boom. You're good. All right.
We're having a day with live today. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right,
so
open it up. Let's hear the debates.
All right, I'll just start because these guys probably have more to say than I do. These guys, my pick, the Agori, which by the way has an H in it, but no big deal. The fact that they're in a guise of a Hindu sect, which anybody who knows the Hindu religion knows that it's a very peaceful religion for the most part. The fact that these guys are the extreme opposite of what the Hindu religion really is, other than the purity part, I guess. But the fact that they're eating rotting flesh out of rivers and stuff like that, and they're presenting it in the skulls of their dead friends and stuff like that. This is beyond bizarre. The fact that cannibalism is a pretty common thing for them. Jamil's comment. I almost picked them. But these guys are just way worse. Drinking their own excrement, stuff like that. This is just the grossest, most bizarre thing. And the beliefs, I don't even have time to tell you all the weird beliefs that they have. But just overall, it's just terrible, terrible, terrible cult.
Is this what started tantric? The whole idea of being tantric? This cult?
I hope not. I don't want to
like
mix
sting sex
But
thing.
they
or-
do a lot of. I didn't really want to get into it, Jeff, but they do a lot of sexual acts with the dead as well.
Right,
Stuff like
right.
that. Like it's
bizarre.
just terrible. Yeah. CNN. To give you an idea, CNN did a documentary on them, and they had to actually cancel it because it was so nasty that they couldn't get it on the airwaves.
That's the
Yeah,
camp.
okay, so what's this? A left one that what's this one that Adam's going on about?
So,
'Cause, like, I
so
don't-
guys, so this
I'm-
is it's a religious cult, and basically, this is the problems I have. The bizarreness of this is that, anytime, like, all cults are based on the religion. Most of them are anyway.
Usually.
But then you get into this whole, okay, we want to cleanse or clarify or just get rid of the world and start rebuilding. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to help it. So let's release gas into a subway system and just, and impact thousands and thousands of lives. I mean, I think that just that bizarreness of that, just taking it out and trying to do something to get to your final goal, just that mentality that you can go out and take on the world. Your cults are bizarre. There's no question. I think anytime you're eating flesh of friends out of skulls, my God. But at least they're keeping it.
That's actually one of the more common things that they do.
Oh my God! But they keep it within the cult. They're not going too far out, right? So but
Well, they're not grabbing bystanders off the street or anything.
right.
This is reminding me a lot, your cult, Adam, of the show Lost. Like,
Really?
like yeah, like we go and take people and put them somewhere, and then yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, long and short, they're just a bunch of wackos that went way too far, and thankfully were shut down after that.
Yeah, it's
And they
very
basically
terrorism orientated.
Yeah.
Exactly. They became terrorists. I mean, that's bizarre and wacky.
Yeah.
That's taking
Well,
it to a whole new
Can be
extreme.
for sure. I like that. Jamil. Always good for a quote or two. But
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, I just think out of all these picks, they are all good picks, but my God, mine is nasty. Just nasty. So and when it comes to bizarre and
Like I see your
all
group,
that,
honestly, Jody. I just in my mind, I picture them as very unhealthy looking, just desperate, gross people.
no, they all
don't
look
have a
like
long
old.
lifespan.
They all look like old Indian people. Funny
Yeah.
enough, but they look fairly normal. But yeah, they have definitely a dark side, which is clearly relevant based on the rituals and the beliefs that they are running through.
All right, that is bringing it to a conclusion. That was a good debate, gentlemen. 3 bizarre cults from history. I think there's a lot more out there too. We've got
Mine's
Jamil in
still
the
active,
chat.
by the way, just so you know.
Oh, there you go. Jamil's mentioning Nexium as well. I know when I was thinking of this question, I was thinking of the Pythagoras' cult from back in
I
ancient
almost picked the
times.
Magna guys from the States.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because if that isn't a cult, I don't know what is. But anyway.
And we're going to go with the Agori on this one because that's just, they are the nastiest of the 3.
Yeah, I think the gore part is definitely the most relevant to their name.
The whole eating of flesh. And I remember seeing that documentary or a brief bit of that documentary that was canceled, Jody. And it was, that just.
Yeah, let's put it this way. When I was doing research on this, I brought up a couple of YouTube videos and I had to shut them off. I was like, oh, this was too much for me. So.
All right. So we have Jody and Jeff tied at 2. Adam with 1 point heading into the final question, which is the wild
this could be a
card.
3-way. Oh, this could be a 3-way.
What conspiracy theory is most likely to be true? This is your wild card question, gentlemen, and we are going to throw it to Adam first for this one.
Okay, I took the infamous day in history, Pearl Harbor, World War II, when the U.S. Finally got into it. Were able to get into the war officially, and not enough time to really bring everything here, but real quickly. The war had been going on for approximately 2 years at that point, 2.5 years, and the U.S. had been doing everything they can to step around being officially involved, but being involved with the U.S. or the U.K. with Lend-Lease, providing arms and goods so they can continue fighting the war. Basically, the U.S. knew is that prior to World War II, they were a minor power. They weren't elevating. The British still owned the world. They were the empire. Germany was a major power, and the U.S. knew that if Britain lost this war, the longer it went on, Britain would lose more and more influence around the world. But the U.S. was there to stand up and take it. So long and short is that they had to get involved, and they knew the U.S. The problem was the U.S. public wasn't there to support it. They didn't want to be involved, but they knew if they got a major attack, they could certainly talk the people into joining and getting rallied and getting angry and wanting to be included in the war. So what better way than to let Pearl Harbor happen? What did they do? Well, they sent all their carriers out to sea and left the little ships to be bombed. So they definitely set themselves up for success in the end.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Jeff, over to you. What is the conspiracy theory most likely to be true?
I picked JFK being killed by the CIA. Okay, again,
Your microphone has to be reset.
You're on the wrong mic, I think.
Is that better? You hear me now?
Much better.
Yeah. All right. So I picked JFK being killed by the CIA. Specifically, I'm going kind of with Alan Dulles because the CIA is a huge organization when it picks the director of the Central Intelligence Agency that was literally fired by JFK after the Bay of Pigs. He also ended up firing multiple other people, like Leo Lemonster was a Joint Chief of Staff. Alan Dulles' brother was mayor of Dallas the day that JFK was assassinated. He helped change the parade route. There's a lot of evidence that shows that the CIA was heavily involved in the JFK assassination. The poster right behind me was released was a movie released in 1991, which ended up releasing a whole bunch of files, kind of showing a whole bunch of evidence that the CIA was heavily involved in this. It has never been directly proven, but most people generally agree that the CIA was involved.
All right. One of the biggest conspiracy theories of all time. Thank you, Jeff. And over to Jody.
I went with one a little bit more closer to home here, I guess, in a way, but also one that was a little bit more recent. I picked the controlled demolition of the towers on 9/11. The reason why I picked this was there's actually a lot of evidence to suggest that this actually could be true. More or less, one of the biggest things is that they got a lot of architects to actually sign a paper, a scientific paper on the evaluation of it. They got over almost 3,000 signatures by, very respected architects as well as engineers and all that to prove, especially when it comes to Tower 7, which is a tower that didn't get hit by anything, was completely across the street from 1 and 2, but happened to fall. But it also happened to fall when the fact is that it had one of the largest reserves of documents that the Americans wouldn't want to get out into the public. So they kind of, I'm not saying that the terrorist attacks were created by the American people, but possibly getting rid of Tower 7 could have definitely been part of that. And there's a lot of architectural proof that would show that could have actually happened.
All right. We've been watching our conspiracy YouTube videos. This is good. Let's open it up for debate.
I can't even debate either of them because I completely agree with them. The World War II one, I wrote Pearl Harbor. I wrote a paper on that. There's
Me too, Jeff.
There's a ton of evidence that shows that FDR was goading Japan into attacking them first. So I agree with that one. The 9/11 one also I 100% agree with. But can I prove it? No. And could all those architects and engineers prove it?
Theories.
That's why they're conspiracy theories. And so that's why, for me, I agree with them. So it's hard for me to argue against them. Which one's more likely to be true? I don't know. For me, it's probably Adams because it's the oldest, and we have the most documents that really kind of show that that's what was occurring. I actually made a mistake also about before. It was actually Alan Dulles' deputy, Charles P. Cabell. It was his brother that was mayor of Dallas. So I got that wrong. So I just wanted to correct myself.
I think all three of these are very viable. The Pearl Harbor one definitely, as well as the JFK thing. The whole thing about the JFK assassination is just it's a wildfire. It's all over the place. The thing that kind of made me pick mine the most is the fact that Tower 7 housed some of the most classified documents in American history, as well as a lot of bank information.
I don't know about this. What's in there?
So
Such
Tower 7,
as?
I can't remember exactly what it was for.
CIA,
but
FBI. There's
it
a
was
ton.
CIA, FBI. It was basically every major
IRS.
intelligence organization, as well as financial institutions, all housed documents there. It was basically a massive office environment. But the theory behind it is that they were erasing a lot of bad things that the Americans did in just one day. They could erase a lot of the history. There's documents that were only ever housed in Tower 7 that we'll never get back now because they weren't digitized.
So, and Jody, like, you know, I mean, a lot of talk about. I mean, there's something clearly nefarious was going on that day. Like, I mean, I get it, but why go after the, like, if that's the case, they already had an attack on the World Trade Center, you know, prior to that. But why not just go after Tower 7 then? Like, I don't.
Because
So-
I'll explain it real quick.
Go ahead.
It was about asbestos. Okay.
Yes.
Both those buildings were it was going to cause like literally $1 billion to $10 billion to fix all the asbestos in Tower 1 and Tower 2. Tower 7's a different argument.
Totally.
Tower 7 has more to do with Larry Silverstein. He owned that building first, and then he bought the big two towers in July, and then took a
Threw
huge
a massive insurance policy on him a couple days before it happened.
So it was really about asbestos because they
And
didn't want
he
to
also,
pay.
yeah, he was also the main guy that was supposed to have. He was supposed to have a business meeting at that exact time, canceled it the day before, and ended up being completely well away from all three of the towers, which is very unheard of for him, considering that's really where he resided. So the fact that he was completely gone, had insurance policies through the roof on this. The American government also housed some of the most delicate files in history in Tower 7, which Tower 7 was never actually attacked or hit. It wasn't even hit with much in the ways of debris. So with that, you know, it's a very shady one for sure. So
What I love about
all
the
three of these
9/11
are shady. Let's be honest.
And I think what's interesting about 9/11 too is like you can look at it from the perspective of did they know in advance and did they just let it happen, similar to Pearl Harbor, or was there actually advanced planning?
There's a lot of
going on
documented
there, right?
reports saying that a couple days prior in Tower 7 specifically, and the reason why I keep bringing up Tower 7 is because I don't think flying planes into a building is a conspiracy. Okay, I think that was actually brought out and that was actually done, but I think they had aforementioned information on it, and there's even evidence to believe that controlled demolitions were already put in the building's main areas in Tower 7 a couple days prior. There were people installing things on the main base supports.
George W. Bush's brother was head of security for those buildings as well.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
so you talk about did they let it happen or was it planned? You do the math.
Yeah. Either way, it's still a conspiracy. But
You know what's interesting, Jeff said too, is that, you know, and I think time brings out all secrets, and you know, World War II being the furthest one away, obviously, I mean, it's pretty conclusive what happened. I mean, especially with people talking through the decades. But you know, as we move away from 9/11, we'll definitely learn more, I'm sure. Because
I'm sure, but the other thing that we also
I didn't have the CIA. I had FBI. I had Herbert Hoover attacking, going after. So, you know, whether
but for
it's
instance,
CIA
that Tower 7 that fell could have had the information that we needed to know about Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Might have been the mafia
Communication
though.
could have been
Might have been
the
the
mafia.
mafia.
That's
And
the
that's
thing.
why
with
they're all
CIA.
conspiracy theories, right?
That's the
You
thing.
know, it would
We
be
didn't really
funny
talk.
if
We didn't
all
really
had
talk
picked,
about. Sorry,
Sorry,
JFK. Yeah, sorry, we didn't really talk about JFK at all. But the thing, like,
we all
you guys,
believe it. Because
you don't. Well, fair enough. If you guys think Lee Harvey Oswald did it by himself, and that's fine. For me, there's just too much stuff going on with and the thing is, it's so cloudy
All
because
three of these are like that.
Yeah, for sure.
All three of these are definitely like that.
All right, we're gonna come down to the wire and call it. Jeff, CIA, I think there's a lot there. There's a lot there. I think it's been so long, a lot of that's been lost.
Possibly in Tower 7.
potentially in Tower 7 with Jody's controlled demolition of 9/11. I think there's a lot of meat on those bones too. But as far as which one most likely to be true, I'm going to go with Adam's answer of Pearl Harbor, World War II. Just because I think the evidence is pretty much there on the table from what we've seen.
Great. Now we got the tiebreaker.
Great. Oh.
Producer Dave's like, I hate tiebreakers.
I totally
two rounds.
And now it's the time to give a shout out to producer Dave, who we all love so much, in creating a tie.
I'm on it. Here we go.
So what happens now? I can't remember.
Well, this is where Mike has to make up an impromptu question.
Okay.
And you'll have to decide which
the best two answers, I guess.
The best two, and whoever. So basically, you're picking the worst answer to decide who's going to get eliminated from the speed round.
Okay. All right.
So
we're gonna go with a wild and wacky one.
Okay, hold on. Before we do this, are we shouting out our answer, or are we just all each getting a turn?
Usually it's a first come first serve kind of thing.
Okay. So we're shouting out an answer then.
Yeah. You're shouting out an answer. Get ready to throw down the gauntlet, gentlemen. We are going to go with one of my backup questions. Okay. What current internet fad or trend needs to end now?
TikTok. It is just and I'm going to let these guys have their thoughts while I talk. TikTok is something that, yes, can be very entertaining, but I think is also the new strive for let's make Facebook even more interactive. Now we get to see videos of people tell us how bad things are. This is just, and we're teaching hate even more than ever now, because now we have videos of showing hate. Yes, we do exposed hate and stuff like that, but I think TikTok is just, even though, yes, I am a subscriber to TikTok, I have watched TikTok, but overall, I think it's a medium. It's an evolution of something that already throws massive amount of rumors and speculations into the mix, and now we do it in a video format in 30 seconds or less. So it's, to me, it's an evolution of Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, where instead of just still images of somebody telling me that, somebody killed somebody or whatever, now we have a video of it. So I think it's just, overall, I think it's an evolution to a product of society, which is already becoming an issue. So I just think there's a lot of hate and stuff like that on it. So overall, I just think it's a terrible platform.
If I can go bigger, I think it's the idea that you can spout off anything, Mike, without any kind of backup, without any kind of recourse, without any kind of follow-up, and people's ideas or opinions, and that's the big thing here on the internet right now, are taken as face value. I mean, it started really with CNN news back in the day, when you have just an editorial versus fact, and so the whole mainstream is now decided on what Joe the plumber thinks in Wisconsin versus the reality of what's going on in life. And I think, so it's a very unpopular opinion, but I believe is that, until things get controlled a little bit, not by, I don't know who, I don't have an answer, but, Joe the plumber is not speaking for normal America. I don't believe in, the fact that they can,
or all plumbers for that matter.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jeff?
I'm going to pick algorithms, okay? And so I'm not going to the fad, I'm going to trend. I don't like when, because I'm talking to you guys right now, say we talk about, Hershey bars, and then all of a sudden a Hershey bar ad comes up on my screen. That would be my I don't like that. And the fact that Big Brother or whatever is listening to every conversation, or it's like listening to keywords that we say and then it pops it into our internet search, that to me is the most disturbing. Also, I don't like the fact that with the algorithm, we get you want news? Here you go. Like kind of the opposite of what you're saying, Adam. It's like, here, CNN, here's Fox, here's MSNBC, only this perspective. I don't subscribe to that. I don't like that. I would rather listen to normal people sometimes, Adam, because sometimes you know, they're gonna have a different perspective, and even if you disagree with it, that's okay. You know, it's up to you to use your head to go, well, that's bullshit, or that's not. To me, you know. So free speech is important for me.
The problem with getting rid of algorithms is you also get rid of the good things about algorithms, and you know, same thing goes with my answer and Adam's thoughts as well. The problem with algorithms is the fact that, you know, people can't find this show if they're not interested in that type of stuff, or you know, that type of thing, or you know, for instance, our Star Trek stuff. You know, trekkers would need to be able to find that. So algorithms are very healthy with that. Social media, which actually I just want to share a quote with you, which I really love, which is by all people, Mike Tyson, funny enough, and it says, social media made you always too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it. And it's absolutely true. If you look at TikTok, there's people sitting there, you know, shitting on people on TikTok. And I'm using TikTok as my answer because I think that's the evolution of the social platform, social media platform. And I think just social media is, even though irony-wise, you know, all of us met on social media, you know, stuff like that. Well, some of us anyway. But just overall, I just think it's becoming the point where it's terrible. It's almost terrorism. It's just a different version of it.
Okay, like, yeah, for me with the algorithms, like what I really don't like say I literally just put in puppy videos for like a week straight. All they would pump at me is puppy videos, and I don't like this. I don't like them deciding what I watch. You know,
but so you're the one that decided that by putting in that search.
I'm not the one who decided. I wanted maybe at that time to watch a puppy video, but now they're saying you want to watch more puppy videos, and I don't.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Yeah, I think all of them have the ability to be good as well. You know, social media I think can also be good, but I think it's unfortunately being used for more bad than good nowadays. So that's why I try to stay off of it as much as possible.
It's creating QAnon conspiracy theories left, right, and center. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Well, now there's the Freedom Phone. Did you see that?
No.
Some guy's now selling a phone that has stuff like Parler and stuff like that, like stuff that's already been banned.
Preloaded,
like
ready to go.
like preloaded, yeah, for all the Magna people and stuff like that. And it's $500 phone that they're getting from, you know, China for $100. So it's crazy.
And only $19.99 for a membership at Bohemian Grove.
Oh, really? That's it, eh? That sounds like a bargain.
All right, good answers, gentlemen. Are we going to call it? I think we're going to call it.
Well, that's if you have enough information.
You're the judge. You have to call it.
All right.
This is the sucky part about being a judge.
Yeah, honestly, great answers. We're going to go with algorithms and people spouting off on the internet. We've got
so
Jeff and Adam.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't like TikTok,
but it's kind of harmless.
What did Adam actually pick as a product?
I didn't.
Okay.
I
What was
everything.
the question again? Sorry.
What internet trend or fad needs to end? What needs to end?
Sorry, I must have misheard that.
You were saying TikTok needs to end. Which
it does.
It does. I agree.
Anyway, congratulations, you two.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm working furiously here.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, so Jody has been eliminated.
I have. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen.
Yeah, I'm not used to this. But Jamil wants to know that TikTok is devolving a video base. It's the devolving, de-evolution. So he might be in line with you, Jody, on that.
I agree with Jamil 100%.
Okay, so we're gonna take Jody off screen here, but you can still hear and everything like that. And we're going to get into the speed round.
All right, let's throw it to the speed round.
Okay, and so I have 3 questions ready, Mike, and you're going to have to maybe come up with a couple more at the end. But
okay.
We will start with this one, and this is first come, first serve, and you'll get 30 seconds on the board to make your case, and then there'll be about a minute for, what do you call that? Rebuttal. All right.
All right. What is the worst animal, predatory animal, extinct or alive, to stumble across?
I'll pick the Komodo dragon.
Interesting.
Okay, the Komodo dragon.
All
Do
right,
I just
Jack,
go,
you wanna
or
run with
is
that?
he going to pick first? I don't know.
Well, if he's ready to go, if he needs time to think about it, I guess.
I can just talk about the Komodo dragon if you want. I mean, I wouldn't want to stumble across this on a beach. I mean, this thing can outrun you. If it bites you, its bite is poisonous. I mean, just one bite, and you're done. It's a very frightening animal. It looks like a giant lizard with huge teeth, and in no way would I want to come across this animal. I mean, I would choose a bear over this animal to stumble
Really?
across. Yes.
Really? Okay. I know they're fast. Deceptively fast.
Okay, 30 seconds over to Adam, but we need to know what he's picking.
I'm picking a grizzly. Grizzly bear. Sorry, Jeff. Thank you for that great idea because I was going through my mind. However, I don't think I'm going to run across the Komodo dragon too often. Why? Because I'm not going where they are. However, in North America where we live, the chances are I like to hike, I like to go outside, I like to visit those places. That may happen. And watching the effects of a bear attack is just horrific. And I would never want to experience the fear of that, and certainly to live through the catastrophic injury or to be even worse, killed through it. So either way, I think it would be awful. I just, this is a tough one, Mike. Don't have a lot to say, but I mean, agreeable.
Well,
I wouldn't want to be eaten by a Komodo dragon either.
I've been watching I don't know if you watch the show Alone, Adam, but it's they're at a place called Grizzly Mountain, which is up in northern BC. And there's a lot of, with the grizzlies, unless they're like really hungry, they're not going to come after you. It's more the black bears that seems to be a bit more vicious. They're more worried about them. Even though like the grizzlies are huge, and I wouldn't want to come across a grizzly. I'm not saying I would, but it seems like they'll leave you alone. As long if you come across a Komodo dragon, it's not going to be good for you. They will come after you.
Yeah, the thing about Komodo though, if you do get bitten and are able to escape them in that initial attack, I mean, they don't like to follow through. Initially they like to stalk you and get you later on. And if you're able to get treatment, you can get treatment. And won't die. However, if you're mauled by a bear, that's catastrophic injuries initially. They could end your life. So
they're very different because you're right. The Komodo dragon. Okay.
All right, that's time. I wouldn't want to run into either of these animals in a dark corner or coming around the corner. I feel like I'm slightly more prepared for a grizzly bear than I would be a Komodo dragon. I would have no idea what to expect from a Komodo dragon and would probably end up pulling on its tail. However, I feel like a grizzly, I would be less likely to survive. So we're going to go with grizzly bear. Just because it could probably eat
I
me
picked Komodo dragon
entirely.
because I picked it last time when you first sent your questions. I was like, that was what I originally thought. So that's why.
No, it's a good one. I'm surprised nobody went with T-Rex though, right? Like,
I thought about that because it said extinct, but I don't know. A T-Rex, I think you could hide. It's so big.
You probably could. Just stay still.
things we learned from Jurassic Park, right?
That's right. All right. Next category is what if? Which historical ruler would be the most successful in modern times?
It's like, okay, is there a cutoff? Like,
doesn't matter. Pull it out
anybody?
of your hat. Yeah, anybody.
I'll go with my boy JFK.
Okay.
I'm going with Churchill.
Okay. Two recent, more modern historical figures. Who wants to lead it off? Adam, you want to go with Churchill?
Sure. I think that, in the world of populist leaders that we're experiencing now, I think that Churchill was a true populist in the time of war, admittedly. However, he able to, cut through the political crap that was going on with the Britain previous leaders and coddling to the Nazis and letting them basically take over Europe at the time. And then just saying, enough is enough. We're standing with Poland and we're going to be at war now. But the bigger point to that is ability to rally the British people and get them on side. Because honestly, if they hadn't joined, I don't think that Britain as a whole would have done it. But he picked that point in time to really become powerful. However, he needed the people and the support to do that. You know, just as FDR couldn't join the war until Pearl Harbor, he had to get the people on side, and that was only Churchill that could have done that, rallied them to do that.
Okay, for modern times, like the reason why I chose JFK was because he was like literally the only American president that I can remember that advocated for Medicare for all. And during this time of coronavirus, America specifically really needs that. They're struggling, and for me, Churchill was like an imperialist. I mean, so was JFK, but like Churchill really was all about preserving the British Empire. And he made kind of like a deal with FDR. He's like, okay, the Americans will now carry on our legacy. And that's kind of when they passed the ball. But for me, Churchill today he was very racist, and I don't think he would do too well today.
Okay. Good
so
arguments.
What's the argument for JFK other than healthcare?
Just for me, because JFK was also a contrarian to. He wanted to break the CIA into a million pieces. He wanted to spread the power. He didn't want to centralize it so much, and that's what we have today. And that needs to be stopped at some point, because it's getting ridiculous. Yeah. That's my opinion. So.
Time is up. All right, two good choices. Just on the arguments, I think Churchill, would be a great populist modern politician. I think JFK really would probably be in his own, I think, in the 21st century with, modern social media and, kind of the congenial kissing all the babies kind of politician that we have these days. I'm going to go with JFK on this one.
JFK would be on TikTok.
He totally would be.
Yeah, he probably would.
JFK would be popular on TikTok too.
Sorry, 1 second.
I feel like America needs that leader right now. They need that populist. Somebody, not populist in the Trump way though.
No, in a way that cares about the people. Yeah, that really legitimately cares about the people. That's why
and is not afraid to shake the shake up what needs to be shaken.
Just quick question here from Mike. Mike, we don't have to do another 3 rounds after this. So if you want, this next question can be the final question, or if you have things in mind, then we can do those after. But I'll leave that because I don't want to.
I'm agreeable to that. I mean, we've gone an hour and a half.
Jeff, you agree? So this next question is for all the marbles.
All the marbles. Here we go. Bringing down the house. Okay. Who is the most influential figure in the 20th century that people know little or nothing about? Most influential figure in the 20th century that people know nothing or little about. And it doesn't have to be so obscure that you're literally plucking them out of a random history book. Good call out from the chat.
Boy. Yeah,
Jamil,
hopefully he would be more behaved.
He would have to be. Like I don't think he could get away with having as many late night liaisons and trysts as especially with famous movie stars as he was getting away with there back in the late 50s, early 60s. All right, I know we leveled these guys with a tough one for the final question.
I've got one. I'm going to go with Harry Truman. And I know he was a president, and I do recognize I just think he was a silent president, and he had a lot of power when he supported FDR as far as the outcome of the war and the way things were going. And when FDR died, he was, he kept his own agenda going. And and what an agenda that was, because he changed the war. He added the first use of atomic weapons and changed the world at the time. So I think he was a president that was lucky to become president simply because of the death of the president at the time, and was able to continue.
All right. Great choice, Adam. Jeff?
I'll go with Tesla. Tesla, yes, everybody knows him, but what do you really know much about him? Do people really know that he was a Serbian? Do people really know that he was a lot of his inventions were kind of stolen by Edison? That do a lot of people know this? I don't think so. I think if you talk about the most influential person of the modern era, I mean, he's up there, and a lot of people don't know his story because it hasn't really been told by a lot of people. So.
All right, good answers. Love Nikola Tesla, first of all. We're gonna do a little bit of round of a debate here. You guys want to go back and forth? We got a minute on the board.
Okay, so for me, like, Truman is guilty of one of the worst sins in modern history, dropping the atomic bombs on a population. So for me to call him influential would be incorrect for me. Well, influential in a bad way is how I look at him.
Yeah, it didn't define that, and that's where I went to. Sorry, I think, Mike, I don't really have. I mean, just choice is great. You're gonna have to decide here whether the biggest impact in the world. Now, Nikola Tesla may have started the inventions off, but somebody perfected them, and unfortunately for him, it just wasn't followed through with, or it didn't have the ability to. But anyway, your choice.
Alternating current, dark current, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tesla's a good one. A little bit more obscure than Harry Truman in that way, but also to Adam's point, a lot of people took his inventions and his genius really and ran with it. And I don't think people know enough about him. There's a great History Channel series that they did, I think last year or the year before, that went into his history. Harry Truman, one of my favorite presidents, just because of all the alien conspiracy theories around him and the Majestic 12 or Majestic 25 or whatever it is, where, he apparently met with alien leaders and all that kind of stuff, and really kickstarted the whole cover up for the U.S. government. I think that's a whole rabbit hole that is not explored very often. As far as influential goes, I think I was leaning towards Tesla, but I'm gonna have to give it to Harry Truman on this one. Just as far as his scope and influence, and yeah, that atomic bomb really changed the world. So winner of this round is Adam. Congratulations, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, some great answers today.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
nobody knows a lot about Oppenheimer.
Yeah. I was going to pick also Henry Wallace. He would have been another one that I should have picked, but I did not.
That's why we call it the speed round. You guys got to be on your toes. First answer that comes to mind, right? All right, some great answers today. Thank you very much to all of our contestants, Jeff Mader, Jody Simpson, and the winner today, Adam Woodward, with a score of 5-4-2. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube. This has been Trivial Debates, the ultimate pop culture challenge. I have been your host, Mike O'Connor. Thank you again to our contestants and our producer, Dave Mader. All the links and information can be found in the description below. Click like and subscribe. Make sure to check out our other podcasts as well, Live Long and Podcast, Star Trek and TV and movie reviews, and of course the Super Mader Brothers podcasting, scripted and reality shows. Until next time, see you on the flip side.
Keep on keeping on.